this very narcissistic way of dealing with another human being to express an interest is almost this dance of clickbait and psychological mind games. Why would you engage in that level of manipulation for this pure, beautiful, loving experience that your heart so long desires? Absolutely. It's counterintuitive to what you say you are looking for. So people need to be mindful about the games they are taught to play in relationships by society's warped standards.
Yes.
And I also think absolutely the porn industry has done a lot to shape what lust needs to look, feel, and sound like, and what roles people are supposed to perform in relationships to be validated and seen and accepted. We have lost the essence of an organic, natural, human expression of love that we are born with before we were warped with all these crazy notions of how we should behave in the context of a relationship.
The root or the basis of actual love comes from service.
Yes.
We can look at, they say the most pure form of expression of love in this world would be maybe a mother to a child. But you can see that the mother goes through so much sacrifice, sleepless nights, so much to take care of the child, feed, nourish, put them through school, all that. And therefore her attachment is also based on the service that she's rendered. The child also, if they are properly oriented, reciprocates because they can recognize the type of sacrifice and service the mother has offered. So when we approach loving relationships, if we are not in the spirit of serving the other, how can I help the person to reach some higher potentials and we're simply thinking how we can take, exploit. And this is what the porn industry has really underscored, this culture of what to take
and an abusive energy.
And it's a dark energy for sure, because it's borderline abusive.
Absolutely.
And the people who are taking part, they're modeling how we should deal in loving exchanges. They're in it for money.
Absolutely. It's exploitative.
And
deeply.
the more shocking, the more clicks they want to get. And the young are watching that and thinking.
And emulating
yes, this is what I should do.
This is how I need to be in the bedroom.
This is how I should behave.
Yes, exactly.
And therefore, when we start to speak about the fineness of actual love, spiritual love, you may find a generation of people that's just has become so distant because they've been hurt and abused in this lust.
Absolutely.
In the name of love.
Absolutely. And, lust as a topic related so closely to love because it's been so misused in the name of love is an interesting aspect of love, because there's a strong association that if I'm having sex, I'm receiving love. Big mistake to assume that, because we've become such a disintegrated society that we are capable, certainly some people pretend to be capable, we know that's not actually true, of detaching themselves physically, having a sexual experience, switching their emotions off, or think they are switching their emotions off, I should say.
Oof, it's even more painful.
And having a very disintegrated, non-human, almost robotic experience with somebody for, again, that superficial, temporary, physical satisfaction, which is never enough. It's never enough because you haven't really satisfied the deeper longing for love from your soul. It's never going to satisfy you. The sad reality is that this confusion of lust being a form of love needs to be understood by everybody clearly. That the energy of longing is not in fact love at all. In fact, depending on who you are in that equation, you are either being abused or you are the abuser. You are the taker of energy, or you are giving your energy away. And that can never be healing and whole for the soul, which is the reason why people who engage in that kind of behavior inevitably end up being depressed, feeling saturated and drained. Never you mind the energy entanglements of vampire energies and so on. We won't discuss any of that for now, because that's a whole conversation in itself of the energy transfer. To understand that that act is so profoundly sacred to begin with, that it was never meant to be commercialized and commoditized or flippantly done as if it's the need you plug for having breakfast or, yeah, exactly. It's an opening of gateways. And it's truly a merging of two energies in such a way that can affect you for the rest of your life if you don't understand the power of the energy you are playing with in that moment, and that it needs to be done consciously. People really need to question their relationship with even just lust. Never you mind understanding how they misunderstand and misuse lust for love.
Yes. Yeah. I'm thinking of this. The energy needs to be understood, you're highlighting. Therefore, things like guns and liquor, radioactive materials, to deal with them, you need like a permit.
Yes.
It's even regulated by the government.
Right.
Because dealing with such energies has a heavy repercussion. So that's why also even sex, we look at, older cultures and we see how it's regulated.
Respected, yes.
It's respected. Even the sexes aren't supposed to just freely mix.
Correct.
So that they don't end up entangled in this energy and then actually create harm.
Which can manifest in disease. And disease is often symptomatic of negative vibrational energy and all kinds of energy that can make you physically, emotionally, mentally ill. Yeah.
It's like there's the potency there to be a co-creator.
Correct.
Creation is such a powerful thing.
Energy.
Yeah. And the environment where such an act is being done and what souls are invited through those acts can affect a family, a community, the world.
Exactly.
Therefore, this education of how the human being can live for the highest good is ever so important.
Absolutely.
And I was considering about love. There's a beautiful analogy, because love is associated with some sweetness. You have a sugar cane seed. There's already sugar in that seed, but it's not at its best. You get the sugar cane, and then you can get the sugar cane juice. And if you distill it further, you get the molasses. You distill it further, you can get the crystals. So it's sugar becoming sweeter and sweeter. So also this love is, you could say, unlimitedly able to get sweeter and deeper and sweeter and deeper.
So
but that education is not offered. And I feel fortunate to have walked the path where, bhakti translates also to love and devotion. So these elements of devotion and love are the nature of every living being. We want to devote. Yes. We want to love fully. But just like wanting to become a neurosurgeon takes some education and training and even specializing to make sure that you do the best job. Similarly,
yes,
to be a human being and be able to benefit in the areas of love and devotion requires our attention. And so to encourage people, go for love.
Go for real love, the real love.
Yes.
Yes,
Don't
absolutely.
be disheartened by all this nonsense in the name of love.
Absolutely. One of the greatest epiphanies I had when I first was introduced to the concept of divine love was having the energy, literally, I'm sitting in my lounge on the floor with the candle and some incense. And I literally experienced this wave of divine love that washed over my body. And it was so beautiful. It was so powerful. It was so still. And it was so deep, And the only thing I could liken that experience to was the day I gave birth to my son. And that feeling, what that day felt like of giving birth to life, that expression of love. This was the second day that felt exactly like that. So I resonate because what we should be seeking is that expression of divine love, that experience of connecting to divine love. And whatever path you choose in your life, that should be what you're searching for, because that's where it is. And when you experience it, it feels infinite. It feels infinite. It is the most wholesome, most, it feels like a coming home almost. And there's nothing that tops that. In my experience, there's nothing that tops that. No relationship, not even with the closest people in your life, will come close to that experience of divine love. And so now to live, closely with the state as much as I can, to live from that state as much as I can. And love is a state of being for me. When you learn to open your heart to that kind of love, you start to expand. You also start to expand what capacity you think your heart has to love. Because now you're not searching for love, in one human. You want to experience that divine love with everyone. You expand that community of love and you feel that deepness and that connectedness with so many more people. The great yogis and the great sages and masters, are often alone in their path of spirituality because they've tasted that nectar of divine love, right?
Yes. Ramante yogino anante.
There you go. That bliss and that peace. Once you've tasted that nectar of infinite love, there will be no more searching for that in someone else. There will be no more feeling of incompleteness. Right?
Yes, that energy also, which generally is channeled into lust, you could say, can be transmuted into acts of love, acts of service.
Yes.
And as you touched on it, the scope for actual love is infinite.
Infinite, yes.
So in the selfishness, me, meaning just the body, my senses, in fact, it's a frustrating small pool, which
very
becomes
limiting.
very quickly, But when you start to look out, then life is in abundance. You can see service to the plant life, to the animal life, any community of human beings.
The trees,
you connect
whom I love.
to. Yeah. So when you are not aware of this, you may feel like someone who doesn't have sort of direct bodies in their arms is lacking.
Correct.
Expressions of love. But
yes,
when it goes further than just your own personal sense pleasure, it takes on a bigger form. A bigger form of, you could say, remuneration. Yeah, it's a special kind of happiness.
Yes, the heart is full.
Because you're connecting also to the service of the Supreme. The Supreme is interested in the welfare of all. And if we can take part in the welfare of others, then we are connecting to that stream of divine love. Yeah.
I want to touch on just, being in relationship and love in relationship, and not only people who, and this is for married couples and couples in general, the bringing this concept into relationships where you have a partner. It's so important to still go on that journey of self-love within the relationship, whatever context that might be. Because often, relationships can be enormously selfish in the way of how two people express love to themselves and to the world. Because very often when we are in relationships, it becomes all about the other person only. You know, your heart is somehow not big enough to expand beyond that person. And so the rules of engagement about love can sometimes be very misguided because, you know, so often I even hear the words, it's us against the world, you know, as a couple or as a family. We create these very divisive family units in the name, again, of love.
Yes.
Of separateness, even if it's a couple, you know, the power couple, you know, watch how we move against everybody else as a couple, right? Or watch how our family is better than yours. And it's a competitive thing where even in that context, true love, the understanding and the feeling of true love, even in that unit, can be lost, you know. And there's an emptiness that you would live with no matter how much you masquerade, that all is well on the surface. Your soul knows that there's no soul nourishment taking place. And there's the yearning from the soul to expand the heart.
Yes.
That's the soul's natural, it's the most natural way to be, to have an expanded heart that can love in such a limitless way. You will be surprised. You know, when people say they only have time for their kids and their husband, it's a limiting way to exist in this world when there is so much more love to experience. In so many more forms, in so many more ways, in so many more textures and colors. And if you would allow yourself the opportunity to be open to expanding your idea of love.
Yeah, you speak of nourishment. How much can two people actually nourish each other? To the extent their own cups are getting filled. And if it's only just whatever is there, then it may quickly run out. And most of the time is that the initial infatuation may be mistaken for somebody capable of nourishing me with love. But after that initial infatuation, whatever, what's it called? Honeymoon phase, you know, then you have to deal with the individual with all their flaws, which is natural. It's their person. So what do we connect to that helps us also replenish our loving energy?
Yes.
So it's important in those types of relationships that there's some activity, there's some process we're following, there's some rituals, whether you're doing some meditation, doing some yoga, you are reading sacred texts to find connection with the Supreme Person so that you're drawing from the ocean of love, that infinite space, and you're able to then share that with others. Because what's happening when the heart has become hard, then, you know, hard hearts, they break hearts.
Absolutely.
And so we want to keep the heart soft.
Yes. Soft and vulnerable and open.
Yes. We want to embrace the world, the universe, the entire creation.
So much of love is also about control, right? Because if I tell you where to go and what not to do, it's because I love you, right? If I tell you what to wear, it's also because I love you. And if I tell you who to be and you listen to me because I need to control someone in order to feel worthy and strong, whatever the reasons are that we bring control into relationships under the guise of love, is also not love at all. Controlling is another interesting thing that we do when we are deeply insecure, right?
It can be. It can manifest, because I would say every quality has its low vibration, and it also has its highest application.
Right.
So it will depend on, again, the evolution of that individual. because say parents, for example, we accept that they love the children, but then
healthy control.
They put some control, some measures there to help this young person go further. But as you are pointing out, in those relationships where now, in the name of I love you,
yes,
I want to make you just like some mannequin for my own enjoyment, or I want to
change you and save you, even save you.
I don't know if they'll ever see this, but there was a situation where before becoming a monk, you know, I had a certain girlfriend, and she was interested also in the path of enlightenment and growing. But then at some point, because of just the world and how it moves, I think there to get into that. And over the years, there would be this, you know, if you deal with me, then I'll get on the thing, you know, I'll change my life around. And then also within me, there's always in the back of my mind of how I could save this person, help.
Yes.
And then from all, I mean, the internet is there. A song by J. Cole. Yes. Those who know will know J. Cole. Yes. One line, don't save her. She doesn't want to be saved. And I remember hearing that. It just hit me like, exactly. Sometimes we have this savior syndrome, or we can also lose a lot of heart energy trying to, or will save you, want to give you something. But when the person themselves aren't in that space to receive said love, then it's not even love, it's your own, you know, quest to feel a certain way, and you're imposing on someone else. You know? Yeah.
I mean, for those who are lost in the milieu of what is supposed to be love, and sometimes it's confusing when it's mixed with lust and it's doused with words of love and a nice J. Cole song, which maybe doesn't say that on the side. And then, you know, in between that, elements of control or just power plays, you know, in a dysfunctional, unhealed relationship where two people are just broken, you know, playing out their drama, their savior complexes and so on each other, because each of them has not healed on their own, you know, before they came into this union. And I think it's rare when a couple can transform spiritually by themselves and still bring their awakened new versions of themselves to that relationship. Those are remarkable relationships, and they're few and far between. But a lot of them will break in the course of finding that healing, right? Too, because we really need to heal ourselves before we can offer wholeness to someone else, and offer even that love. I mean, the last thing I want to talk about with love that I think is a beautiful thing for everyone to remember is that all that love that you want to give, all that love that you want to pour onto somebody else, which very often when you watch your relationships, you will observe yourself doing. You'll observe yourself pouring your heart into that one person. It's so important to remember that state, those feelings that you often give credit to the other person for. You often go, they made me feel like this, and I felt so, you know, amazing. Those states of love that you tasted when you were with that person, it's so important to remember that you actually created those states of being yourself. They may have inspired it, but you actually created those energetic vibrations as well. And why is that so important to know? Because if you can see yourself having done that in that relationship, then you are fully capable of creating those states outside of that relationship on your own journey to your soul. It's a great wake-up call. It's a good reminder that you are actually the love you don't realize yet.
Yeah, I'm thinking in conclusion, lust and love again. Like, you know, just night and day, actually.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Iron and gold. They are both metals. Lust also evokes certain emotions, there's feelings behind it. But the result of them is, one is superfluous, is very flickering, and quickly deteriorates into sadness, pain, depression, drama. The other, because it's for the happiness of the beloved. It is selfless. It is self-giving.
Yes.
It's like the basis for joy. That even just the acts of love in themselves satisfy the individual.
Absolutely.
They don't necessarily wait for the specific reciprocation that I thought you were going to do this and I did this,
Yes.
how come you didn't?
Conditions.
In the conditions. So definitely the subject of love must never be abandoned. And in fact, I wish and hope to work to create in this education system, there should be the subject of love should be part of our education, that from young we should be becoming oriented and familiar with what is it that we're looking for in terms of love, and given some guidance. You know, there's career guidance. We have to be guided in
the matters of the soul
love, the matters
and the
of
matters of the heart and spirit.